Let me in, I'm trying to fuck. Let me in, I'm trying to fuck. Let me in, I'm trying to fuck now. I said, let me in. Oh, getting with pastas now lately.
Nice.
It's pretty.
Because you're taking your time, you know.
Yeah, no.
The turtle wins the race.
Right? Thank you to. I think it's just because of our intro song, Girls Club, which fits perfectly with today's theme. Kinda does.
It does in a way. If
In a way.
it suits.
It's if it's tickle your pickle, put some lead on your pencil, it goes. I don't know. But hi guys, welcome back to another 6 Foot Under episode. Today, like always, we're gonna say thank you to our sponsors, and we actually are in location with one of our great sponsors, SheepDOg. SheepDOg located in 3900 Rosa Avenue, Paso Texas 79905, and we are having two beautiful beers. I'm having today's special, Mean Girls. Why are you so obsessed with me? Guava beer. It's pink. But we always wear pink on Wednesdays.
It's pink. You wear pink on Wednesdays.
I'm actually
and
wearing
it is
pink
October 3rd.
And it's
you'll see this on October 9th, but today is October 3rd. We're here
and I'm
recording.
wearing pink shoes. Pink bands. Woo!
Well, they used to be pink.
Yeah, it's covered there. And Cesar's drinking a 1920 Thrasher Orange Farm Ale beer, 7.0% alcohol.
It's delicious.
Yum.
And also thank you to our other sponsor, Vitolas. Vitolas located in 216 West Franklin, El Paso, Texas 79901. You know, guys, if you like cigars, you want to have a good smoke, a good drink, just listen to some nice jams, meet some great people there, stop by, have a delicious cigar. Remember, 360 cigars on hand, so don't say you can't find anything. And you know what? Bring your own beer. Bring a beer from SheepDOg. Stop by. And also, before I forget, shout out to that guy that texted William again. We owe you a beer now.
Why do we owe him a beer?
No, well, William also. He sent me a message to come by and stuff.
I was like, I don't know him a beer. He didn't text me.
I know, shit.
I don't want him to text me.
We're going to put your number on
No,
it.
let's not do that.
And today we're joined by another great local artist. He just had a show 2 weeks ago, right? If I'm not mistaken. On top of SheepDOg.
Yep. And that went pretty well. Pretty good turnout. Everybody was social distancing and masks on, but it was a really great turnout and a lot of different artists up there. It was cool.
Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm Brian Holt. I go by Emberflow. I'm originally from Ohio. Ended up here in El Paso through the military, and met my wife here. And yeah, so I stayed. Love El Paso.
Stayed, and I was like, well, I guess I'm just gonna stay here now.
I got married and I just didn't
I got married. Didn't think I was gonna go back.
Housing's a lot cheaper here as well, you know.
Hey,
Yeah.
it is. Not gonna lie, it is pretty.
Nah, it's great.
Pretty cool. You don't pay that much. I don't pay that much.
Yeah, so we got Brian here with us today, Emberflow. If you guys look right here behind him, this is actually his artwork right here, which is a really cool piece, Brian, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank you.
What was kind of like, I guess, your inspiration behind this?
So it's called Lone Wolf. And when I started making this over at UTEP in the sculpture department, I was really reflecting on kind of when I got out of the military here. You know, outside of the base, I had never really went around El Paso all that much. You know, I was just consistently busy with the military life. So when I separated from the military, you know, I just felt like I was on my own. My friends moved away, you know, and I have my wife and family here, but, you know, I don't know. I felt super alone and out of sorts. And then on top of that too, like, all my friends moved away, and, you know, suddenly I started noticing things like, a lot of these guys, were, you know, not making it. And you know, I had a couple of friends who've committed suicide over the past years, and so yeah, that's what this was about. You know, when I met Gus here, you know, I saw how, you know, great they were and how passionate they were. It is a dog form, so yeah, I donated it to him the week of, I believe it was Suicide Awareness
It's like in September or something. Right?
Yeah. So I was like, hey, you know, man, if anybody needs help or somebody to talk to, or you know, it's something people need to talk about more, you know.
Yeah, it's really I guess a subject that a lot of people like get iffy about or afraid of speaking. It's a conversation that should never end.
Yeah.
Like it's not about when to start it. It's when like, everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna start it and end it in one talk. It's like no, it never ends. You never know. They might look happy, but people.
Why do you think people are so scared to talk about it?
I don't know. I think there's a stigma where, you know, and I kind of learned this in the military where it was like, you know, if you talk about stuff, you're viewed as weak, you know, and I think that's really all it is the stigma of being weak, and people don't want to be weak, you know. And I think a lot of times too, folks don't like to talk about their problems, you know, or what's going on in life, and they feel ashamed or embarrassed of it, and you know, and that's why I encourage people to, you know, really look at their friends and their family members and just make sure they're always okay. You know, you never know. We're all going through crazy stuff right now, you know? Yeah,
but right now I think it's a lot of people are like dealing with it more. Just there's no hanging out. There's no going out. Like,
right.
And I think like honestly, I think it's perfect that you donated it here. Not only just because it's the wolf and it fits with the, but you can always talk with a beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go buy a beer and it's not making you an alcoholic, or maybe
right.
Not the right person to say that, but at the same time, it's like you can always just have a beer, and that's the best thing. Like have a shot with a homie, a friend, someone that you don't know at the bar. Just like sit them along. You're always gonna like, hey, what are you drinking?
Yeah, you never know. Like those conversations might be the conversations that like save that person, you know, or you might meet somebody that you know you didn't have in your life that's like, hey man, you know what, I was feeling really down, but I met this person and they're super cool, and you know now I have a friend, and you know, so I don't know, I think it's super important to have those conversations. You know, a lot of my artwork is really focused on mental health. Some folks would say, oh man, nobody's gonna buy your art because they don't want to hang it on the wall because it's super dark, but it's really not. You know, if you buy my artwork and it is on your wall, I super appreciate that. But they're really about telling stories and opening conversations and dialogue for anybody who feels like they, you know, are going through the same kind of things, you know. And man, you know, I've been through it, you know, and it just takes recognition and, you know, and recognizing, you know, depression or anxiety or, you know, and addressing it, you know.
So do you think for you, like, I guess your artwork was kind of your outlet and kind of like coping with that kind of stuff and absolutely letting you...
Man, you know, sometimes I go out in my garage and my wife has to pull me out of there, you know, because I'm just dumping so much emotion and so much, you know, of whatever I'm feeling, or so I have so many different ideas all the time, and, you know, I'm just consistently out there trying to, you know, create and put these ideas or what I'm feeling like, you know, on whether it's a palette or a clay or whatever it is, you know. But I just really want to have those conversations with people, and I don't know, go up to people, shake their hands, say, hey, how are you doing, you know? And
don't be afraid of like saying something either.
Yeah,
that's a lot of things that people hold on and like, oh, they're gonna think bad about me, or it's like something they don't care, but just helps out to just talk, like just let it out, even if they ignore it, you just talk, at least like you let it out of your system. Because doing artwork, that's basically what we do. We put our shit in canvas. Like,
right.
It's not about, oh, I drew a pretty picture. It's like, no, it's the shit that's going in my head.
Yeah.
Or it's just stories that we went through. It's something that I like doing in my stuff. Just like showing off, like, this is who I am. Like, this is what's going on.
Right.
That you might think it's dark, inappropriate, or whatever, but so if you actually sit down and look at it, like that's what you want to. Like, I want someone to.
Yeah, and I love those conversations too. I love when I can't directly see what somebody's art is exactly about, and then I'm trying to figure out what its message is or what it's saying, you know. And then you talk with that artist, and you're like, oh man, I was way off, you know. Like, I love those conversations. And I love when people talk to me, and they say, hey man, I know exactly what's going on here, even though I've like distorted it or made it look super out there, and I've tried to like hide this message in between. A lot of times folks who are like going through that, man, they will pin it like right off the bat, you know.
Because I think like with the lone wolf, you're seeing it first because you have it's a wolf, and then he has all the dog tags.
Yeah.
I think the first thing they're gonna think it's just like fallen soldiers.
Yeah.
Usually that's, but
Yeah, no,
there's
and
more
it's
behind to it.
it's definitely so much more than that, you know. And these dog tags on here, some of them are kind of perfect, some of them are kind of imperfect, some of them have bullet wounds in them, and I wanted those dog tags to represent different people or different, different people, and some people are coping really well. Some people have like minor scars, some people are really scarred, and so that's really what all those dog tags represent is, different people and, the different ways people are handling things,
Yeah, for sure. Because it's something, like I said, it's something people are just afraid of talking.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be. You need to let it out.
Yeah.
Don't be that lone person that doesn't. And you can be alone, don't get me wrong, but just at least have someone you can talk to.
Yeah.
Being your friend, professional, or just someone in general.
It doesn't take much to just be friendly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
just buy someone a beer.
I don't know.
Sit
Yeah,
down.
there you go.
That's why we're always here.
There you go. Come to Old SheepDOg.
But it's to go right now. Once they open, come and hang out. Like, it's a place where we can actually talk to someone and not be, what's it called? Annoyed with the live music.
Yeah.
They also have good music too, so it's not.
Right.
Like, it's a spot where you can just enjoy, chill out, have a beer, meet someone at the bar, across the table, across the building.
So do all of your artwork, is that all kind of like what you kind of try and represent a lot, get that conversation started, or is it more just kind of like every now and then you'll have a piece that says, all right, this is what I want this to be, or generally that's like your message with your artwork?
Yeah, the majority of my work is usually about mental health.
Okay.
Every once in a while I'll wing it, I'll do something goofy, or or I have a print inside right now. When COVID came out, I mean, we were just joking. I know we shouldn't be joking about it, but COVID came and we were like, oh, there we go. Oh, the world's coming to an end. And, my wife and I, we were referencing Planet of the Apes, like we're going to keel off and some other animal's going to have to take over,
We're no longer the dominant species.
Yeah, there you go.
And then Marky Mark comes back.
Right.
Sorry. I know I thought of that version first. Worst movie of those. Sorry.
That's the only one I don't think I've ever seen the older ones, actually. I've seen clips.
What?
The original ones? I've never seen the original trilogy.
Get the fuck away from me.
Hey, man. I'm a product of my years.
There you go.
Shit.
Marky Mark. Fear?
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
Like, I didn't even... It took me a long time. I was like, wait a minute. He's a rapper?
Yeah.
What was it, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch?
Funky Bunch?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then his brothers wasn't
His brother was in New Kids on the Block.
Man.
Like, that's why he started to do music, and then it ended up being the other way around. He ended up being the more famous brother.
Yeah.
Shit, I know. He modeled those Hanes. Was it Calvin Hanes or Calvin Klein?
I don't know, dude. You tell me. You're the one that has it on your bedroom wall.
We don't talk about that ever. It's only that, and next to him is Jordan. With a cigar.
What
the fuck? Damn, shit just goes everywhere.
Yeah. So have you done anything, I guess, with any other organizations locally, anything that kind of like talks about that, wanting to get the message out?
Yeah, so, I was just getting started here in El Paso. It's funny, when I started going to school, I was going for physical therapy. And then somewhere along the lines, I walked down a hallway and I saw some art in the halls, and I was like, man, I really missed that. And so I was like, I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm gonna do my art thing. I'm gonna switch my my degree plan. And I said, and I have a plan, and I know you're probably gonna have a hard time seeing that,
Yeah.
but it's gonna happen. And I said, I really want to reach out to not only veterans, but anybody in general, who might be going through some of the things I was going through after I got out of the service, because I was really struggling for a really long time. And then, just to be quite honest with you, through art, through school, through EPCC, through UTEP, those things really pulled me up and pulled me out of the dirt, and gave me what I felt was purpose. But yeah, I did a show with a couple of veteran friends of mine, Melinda Blackwelder, aka Mask, Victor Casas, and Mike Bombuk. We did a veterans show at UTEP in the glass gallery. Yeah, we were trying to launch something where we were like, hey, if we can just reach out to people with our art and say, you know, hey, and they were all like on the same page as me, you know, like, yeah, we're struggling, but art's helping us out. We did that show, and then people started reaching out to me. NAMI, off the top of my head, I'm having a really hard time remembering what it stands for, but it is a mental health organization. They invited me to come to their like 1 year anniversary and display all my art and do like a small talk about mental health. And then after they did their speech, like all these veterans came out, you know, and were like shaking my hand, and, you know, we were talking about the art, and then COVID came, and yeah, it just kind of, it like really shut down, like things were happening.
Freaking Rona, man.
Yeah. We were supposed, that my small little group, we were supposed to go to DC. And it just all fell through with COVID, and we're like, man, so that's on the back burner. But I'm also trying to like not just talk about mental health, but I also want to like uplift like other artists too. You know, with the show that we just did upstairs, you know, El Paso creatives and Fox kind of reached out to me and said, hey, do you know any other artists? And I was like, let me reach out to these kids that I love, you know, and they can come out here and they can have an opportunity to display their work as well. So I'm an advocate for that too. I'm all about supporting everybody's work, you know, like, and really trying to get, like, pick up other artists, like,
just help them out.
Yeah, like, and like,
are shy.
Yeah, you know, because we all have to start somewhere, and it's like, man, all I need is like for you to grab my hand and pull me up, you know. And so like that's what I try to do with like all these other people who like I just run into randomly. You know,
that's even how we met.
Yeah, right.
I came to pick up here.
I know, and here we are now. Here we are having a beer now.
Having a beer and a conversation.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, and you know, once this COVID thing lifts, man, we have things that are going to be in the works. You know, I got a buddy of mine. His name's Johnny. He goes by Slasher Wave on Instagram. Man, he has a huge warehouse, and we plan on grabbing a bunch of artists and
throwing a bunch of giant
we want
art
to put
show.
on huge shows and not, you know, overcharging or anything like that. We really just want like people to be able to display their work and talk about their vision.
Well, because I think that's one of the biggest problems, just having people like galleries that are open to like, hey, like $10.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I know.
I've been doing this for a while too, and it's just like sounds like $300 for the show that I'm gonna be like a day in there, and that's it.
Right.
Or just getting the museum to also like do because also here the museum is it hasn't been that local friendly lately. Well, it's back and forward, but it just grabs the guys that they've been doing it for years, so they already had their artwork shown there, and it's just like, what about the new upcoming artists? Like, what are you doing with them? Like, you limit also Chalk the Block so much too. You limit all these programs in a way, but then it's just like
and I think people don't understand too is like, man, El Paso's a city with so many people. I meet so many new artists like all the time, and I'm just wowed by like how much like creativity is here in this city. You know, I grew up in a small little farm town. You don't get that. You know, like, and you know, and the great thing about El Paso too is it is so diverse. You know, I mean, a lot of people would say it's, you know, dominantly, you know, Hispanic, but
it's all over the place.
But dude, I mean, you have people from everywhere here, you know what I mean, and different ideas, and I love that about this place too, because you have so many different
communities,
like, I don't know, like so many different personalities and so many different ideas, you know, and that's, to be honest with you, like with the whole mess that's going on in this world, like that's where it all starts, is like conversation and mingling with people and getting to know one another, and you know,
well, in person, I think like just because even in our group, like in our community, there's so much like different styles that you're like, oh shit, like you start going to shows and you think it's gonna be like a Shuko art show, and then you meet someone like my style that I'm a lot of like photography and BDSM and all that stuff. And then later on, like, well, this guy does just printmaking, but he does them wood carvings, so it's rare now. Which is amazing to do wood carvings. I love those. But just like our community is even like so diverse, and we all go to the same places. Like, we have this joke that, well, not really a joke, it's just how we say it. Like, we all are alcoholics. Like, we all meet each other at breweries or bars.
Right.
and you'll see we meet each other because you see us sitting down on on the corner of the bar and drawing.
Yeah.
Like I carry a sketchbook everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like a small pocket sketchbook that fits in my back pocket.
That's awesome.
My wallet goes in the front, my sketchbook goes in the back.
That's cool.
But I'm always like drawing, and that's how I met a lot of people. Like his last time was like I met Fox through like she was an intern where I was teaching at the time. But then I met different artists just like having a beer at different breweries or bars. A lot of craft and social. Like I usually go and like, sit down and draw and eat something.
Yeah.
And then someone's always gonna ask like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And like, "Oh, I do this. Like I'm a photographer."
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is badass. Like, I'll go bring us together.
And hey, God bless that lady, Fox. I don't know how I met her. She just reached out to me out to me out of nowhere, and you know, she invited me to Star Room, and I was doing shows at Star Room before they had to close down because of COVID and whatnot. But you know, like, yeah, it just goes to show, like, you know, when people reach out to other people and those opportunities finally start opening, like things start rolling and happening, you know.
Because I also think we're being lately, I think as in our community, we're being more open to like support everybody.
Yeah.
Like there's still those ones that are dicks, not gonna like, there's always gonna be someone that's gonna be like, "Oh, fuck you, this is my show."
Yeah,
like,
no, and I get that. Yeah.
It is understandable, but some of them are people that have been doing it for years, and like, dude, like it's time to like grab someone else's hand, dude, like help them out.
It's because you'll have those people that don't really care about the art; they care about the popularity.
Yeah, and I was gonna, you know, and hopefully it doesn't seem like we're going into a negative space with that, but you know, it's like, yeah, man, if you're one of those folks that has like a super ego, you know, like, I don't know, and I always think about that, like, and we were talking earlier about, you know, like just giving away art, you know. Sometimes a kid would show up to a show of mine, you know, and be like, man, he would sit there at my table and talk to me for like a half an hour about my work, you know, and just be, you know, telling me that he really loved all of it, but he didn't have any money, you know. And it's just to make somebody's day and be like, here, you know what, dude, I'm gonna give you like, you know, this painting that I was trying to sell for $100. I'm just gonna give it to you. You know, that kid is gonna take that painting and put it on his wall and be like, man, like that's where I want to be, and that's what I want to do, you know.
Well, I mean, it's because that's how it should be. I mean, that's kind of like what the whole thing is, that you got to think about what got you inspired to kind of do, what kind of got you into this, what kind of made you want to become an artist. And not even just art, like it can be musicians, it can be like Alex saying photographers, filmmakers. You gotta just think, what am I gonna be able to do to actually make an impact on somebody else instead of just my wallet? Right. Sometimes like that's what it comes down to. That should be more important.
Yeah, we have to pay bills. But
which I mean, I get, you gotta eat, but at the same time,
like gotta help other ones out.
Like it doesn't hurt to be just a decent human being every now and then. Be humble.
Yeah, because also like one of my best memories in teaching, and I got a lot of trouble for that. I had this student, I was teaching another early college. Smart girl, like she was really smart. She was going for, she wanted to be a doctor. She took my class. I was teaching graphic design for college credit. She changed her major to arts. Yeah. Her parents came to my classroom and started like talking shit, like hardcore. Like, why is my daughter doing like shit? Like, and we had at the end of the year, we had the art show, and her dad came and shook my hand. It's like, I never knew that my daughter had all these things hidden inside of her. It's like, you never gave her the opportunity. You were making her be a doctor. I don't know if he was a doctor, but I'm pretty sure they were. That's the way they were like presenting themselves. Yeah. And how the way they talk is like, then just listen to your kid. Like, come on, like, just because you're a doctor doesn't mean your daughter has to be a doctor. Yeah. And I was then after I started working at UTEP for like a separate thing. Like I wasn't teaching at the time. They asked me for some stuff. And I saw her there taking a printmaking. It's like, fuck yeah, like you're still going with it. Like your dad actually supported you. Yeah. And because he was kind of crying when he shook my hand. It's like, I didn't know this is my daughter. Like, artwork, it's a story. Like everybody can draw. I always said that. Everybody can draw, even if you draw a stick figure. But to become an artist for me is telling a story. Yeah. It's making someone sit down and just look at your work. Not just pass by. It's like, hey, that looks cool. Yeah. I'm out.
No, it feels great, man.
More than 5 minutes. Yeah. I had I think one of my first art show when I was 15, and I had an old lady just sit there for like literally almost an hour looking at my work, and I was just like, it was 72 pieces to make one. Yeah. But she's just like, it's just, I saw my life. They're telling stories that remind me of where I was. That's awesome. Like probably like years ago, but yeah, like, cool. Like
it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that girl's dad, because my dad in Ohio, he grew up on the farm. So when you talk about art, and you
It's just
put a
like-
farmer in the same room, it doesn't go
It does
together.
not go well together.
Yeah, and I remember, you know, my mom was super supportive of my art my entire life. My dad, on the other hand, he wasn't so much. And I remember, like, you know, I did my first student show at EPCC. I had made this sculpture, and to be quite honest with you, I'd put in like 4 paintings and 1 sculpture, and the sculpture was just like a side project I was doing.
Yeah.
None of my paintings like won anything, but that sculpture won first
was-
place. You know, and I got like $300 out of it, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I, you know, I was so happy and proud about it, and I sent that photo back to all my family members, and my dad's like, so, I mean, what is that going to go for? Are you going to sell that? Or, you know, and it's like, man,
I've
like,
been there.
yes, you know, it's funny because it's like, you know, if you have that creative mind, or you're a musician or a photographer or whoever, you're going to understand like how good it feels to just create, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also be like in that community of just creatives. Like, dude, it is fun to be with like creatives, you know, like listening to great music, you know, like you said, like having a beer and just talking, you know. And unfortunately for folks like my father, who's a farmer, there's a part of his brain that's just never
Like,
accessed
never gonna
that,
be-
and he's never gonna even know like how great it is to like go look at art, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the reason behind Emberflow? How did that come about?
Emberflow is like you know, it's an ideal that I kind of made up while I was in the service, and really what it was about was I was doing very minimal amounts of art while I was in the Army. You know, and I was in Iraq, and I was doing a drawing one time in what they call chews, or like connexes
Yeah.
that we stay in on the fob or the base. And man, my door got kicked open by a first sergeant, and you know, he's giving me the knife hand. What the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, oh shit, I'm just drawing. But it was like my own free time, you know. And he like took his like chaw out of his mouth and like threw it like down
shit.
on my threw it down on my drawing, and like the brown spit just splashed everywhere on my drawing. And I remember I closed it, and I tucked it under my bed, you know, while this dude's screaming and yelling at me about why I should be like cleaning my weapon instead of drawing, you know. And I'm like,
My weapon's already clean, sir.
okay, man, you know, like, and to be honest with you, is it, you know, and again, it's like one of those like things where it's like, hey, it was kind of frowned upon to be like doing something like that, you know, like, hey, instead of drawing or wasting your time doing something like that, you should be like doing push-ups, or you know what I mean, like doing steroids, and
You should be walking in a
I
straight
feel
line.
like
studying guides on how to,
I
you
think
know.
you would have been less offended if you were jerking off.
Yeah, I don't know, right? Like, but and
Oh,
that-
like, I'm sorry, sir.
yeah. So
Walks away.
I kind of like my buddy James Brown, which a guy who died here. He was one of my best friends. He died here in El Paso. We'll get to that in a minute. But you know, we were talking. He was an artist as well, and he felt the same way. You know, like, dude, we got to put it away because, you know, these guys are ragging on us about, you know, drawing and this and that. It's funny though. Like anytime they needed like a company shirt
They'll go
or
for
like
it.
Oh, who's
or
the-
like a
who's the
coin.
artist?
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you
who's the
do
artist?
our coin for us? Or
Which is also funny because we were saying that with William from Aurelius. He was brewing beer in the barracks. And they were trying to get shit, and it's like, yeah, later they were drinking my beer.
yeah, you know, it's funny, but yeah, they were probably like getting him in trouble for brewing beer. Yeah, no, and so I don't know. I had this idea, and my buddy Mask, Victor Casas, he'll probably rag on me for romanticizing my art, but and if you're not romanticizing your art, I don't know, like I don't get it. I like to romanticize my art, man.
Can't say I draw a lot of titties. So.
Yeah, but
No, what you do with your art is something different. We
Yeah.
can't talk about that here.
no, but you know, I come up with that ideal that I had made, and it was really about like putting it away for a minute, but also that there's like an ember or like a coal, you know, that's
Yeah.
that's
Still
internal. It's still in there. I'm gonna put it off to the side, you know. And in 2015, I got out of the service. And when I went back to EPCC, my first drawing class, I mean, I took off, like, it was like fire, you know, like, and I remember, you know, my professors were like, whoa, man, like, this is really great stuff. And I'm like, oh, wow,
like
Thank
finally getting approval.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
You're not gonna throw your chew at me, right?
Yeah, right. I know.
They're gonna
For
spit
sure.
in something.
Yeah, no. My first art teacher at EPCC was Hector Romero.
Oh shit, I know that guy.
And you know what? A lot of kids don't like him because they think he's like an a-hole. But I'm like, dude, I totally can handle that guy because I was in the service.
Yeah.
And you know, but
Yeah,
he,
you're like,
but
"This
he,
isn't
but he
nothing
like
new to
pushes
me."
your limits because he wants you to be better. You know what I mean? And a lot of young people don't understand that. Like
Yeah,
a lot of
I
young
had
people
that
when they go
problem.
to school are like, that guy's an a-hole, and I'm like, you know what,
Yeah,
man?
dude.
But he really just wants you to like put in your full effort, and he wants you to push your work. You know?
I think like when I was first starting in art, I was about 9 years old, and I was going to this private gallery, and I was getting like college critiques. So when I got to college, I was making people cry
Yeah.
because I got used to it. Like, yeah,
No.
and then I had my drawing teacher, Mary Scott. She retired when I graduated from EPC. When I graduated with my degree, but she did retire from EPCC,
Yeah.
and she would make me do all the life skills.
Yeah.
But it was just me challenging myself.
Yeah.
Because at the same time I was teaching, so I was just like, I'm gonna challenge myself. Everybody fucking hated me in my drawing class.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're making all this shit. It's like,
I know.
well,
Well-
I'm trying to challenge myself.
No, you're also just kind of a little bit of an
Yeah, I'm an
asshole.
But I was just like, oh, cool.
I'm kidding.
It kind of was, because like I'll finish my drawing like in a day, which was
Sorry.
a 1 week drawing. You know how like life steals, like it's gonna be like a week drawing.
Yeah.
I finished mine in like a day or two, and I didn't have to go anymore to class. But I was just like, well, I want to keep drawing, so I
Yeah.
started challenging myself. And they're like, she's like, oh, you can do the lifestyle. It's like, cool. Start grabbing shit from the backyards. Like,
Yeah. You know-
I brought in shit from somewhere that I found.
Yeah, back in the day, I went to, and I wasn't ready for school back in the day. So like, that's a pretty good message too to put out to people. Like, if you're not ready for school, that's okay.
Don't go.
Like, try something else first. You know what I mean? Like maybe toughen up your skin. You know what I mean? Or get your mind right or whatever before you
Go
start
travel
school,
if you
because man,
want.
it's gonna take time. But dude, when I went to Pittsburgh, dude, I wasn't ready for it. And I was just slacking off, and I wasn't putting in my full efforts.
So you're going to
And when
school,
teachers would give me critiques, I was so soft. I was like, oh, how dare you say that about my art, But now, like, when I go into a critique,
I think a lot of it, what it is too, is that when you get to, especially when you're doing it in the arts, because I mean, I went to school for music.
yeah,
When you're in high school and someone's like, oh, this kid can draw, or this kid can sing, they're really good. Everyone's
Yeah.
like, holy crap, this guy's really good.
yeah,
But when you get to college,
yeah,
and everybody's there for that same reason,
Yeah.
you have
Like,
to have, you have
you're
the
not that
realization
good
you're
kid
not
anymore.
the only good
Exactly.
kid. Everybody else is just as good, just as talented.
oh yeah,
So I think it's just that hard realization, thinking like, fuck, this isn't
Exactly.
as easy as I thought it was gonna
yeah. And the funny thing too is, like, when I was at Pittsburgh, you'd have some kids that would go in there. I mean, and I don't rag on anybody's art, but they had like zero talent. They'd be like, hey
Yeah.
man, what's going on? My mom said that I can draw. Like,
Oh, we had one of
and it's
those.
like, oh
I had one of
shit.
those.
So it's like, wait a minute, like, but then you'd find out, like, his parents had like a shit ton of money. Oh, okay.
There
can
was
get
some,
away
there
with
was some
anything.
kind of donation
Yeah,
made here.
I don't know. And,
Yeah,
and next thing you know, they're like paying you to do their assignments, which I never did.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna leave that part out.
I never did it. If you're listening on Spotify, I'm doing quotations with my hands right now.
And that's at Pittsburgh. I wouldn't.
Not a UTEP,
Hey, if
not
you're
a
at UTEP,
UTEP.
you're on your own, man.
No, we had when I was at EPC, like my painting class, it was the first time that I had like experienced like a whole class with art majors, because I went to school in Juarez. There's no such thing as an art department.
Yeah.
So I graduated with an associates in high school from architecture, because I was the closest thing to drawing.
Uh-huh.
But getting there was like the best feeling ever I had, because it was just all art majors. We were like talking shit. It was an 8-hour class, so we were all like, we had beers in the school. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't care. But there was one girl there that, like, she had good technique, but she was what's it called? That's
A fresa?
No. Psychology major.
Oh, okay.
So, like, nothing that she wanted to draw made sense. Like, cause in psychology, a
Because it was all
color.
blobs.
No, in psychology means something, in one color, and in art it means something else.
Yeah.
So, or like, she had a good technique. Her paintings didn't have a meaning. Like, they were nice paintings. Don't get me wrong. She got a beautiful technique. But then you see, like, us were like talking about like our fucking, like, our parents hating us, like being left out, or like growing up in a place that didn't, like, all the stories. And then you see her parents like, oh, I painted my nephew. I was like, that's cool, but like all of you, did you listen to all the other critiques? We're like, oh, like fucking being dicks to each other.
Yeah.
But in a good way, we're like, okay, like I'm right, and I'm like, I need to fix this.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big, like, I like mistakes a lot.
Yeah.
Mistakes are the best thing for me.
Oh, dude, I totally agree with that. So
Like I remember like having a teacher who's like, oh, you messed up, like this is like, and I was like, you know what? I actually like that about her drawing. Is like, that mistake made it like separated from all her still arts. Like,
right.
We were all drawing the same thing, but that little fucking line, made it better for her.
Dude, I love that you said that because to be honest with you, more than anything, I love a really wonky drawing or like wonky painting that somebody would completely like be like, that sucks. You know, like I love it because I'm like, dude, we are fucking human. We are human, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think for me it's like, because the people that say that, they're critiques. It's like, have you ever fucking painted, asshole?
Yeah.
Like,
no,
like it takes a lot. Like, no, like. So I always have this saying that my thing is like, life is just a beautiful mistake.
Yeah.
Like their mistakes are gonna make you grow. Like embrace those fucking. Like I shake a lot because I have a nervous I have a nerve system problem because stippling.
Yeah.
But I was like, I embrace my shakiness. Like I did drawings just with shaking lines.
You're so beautiful.
Thank you.
I love your shaky lines.
My shaky lines are
so
shaky. It's not because I'm an alcoholic, but
no, it's great. Like it's funny. Like every once in a while, you know, Manny Guetta down at Horn Toad Prints will invite me to come down and do some printmaking in his shop, you know, and man, you walk in there and you see all these beautiful prints and picturesque, you know, just perfect lines, perfect cuts, you know, and I'm like, man, that's not me at all. And I'm over here like doing whatever, you know, and it's funny because like, you know, he'll tell you like, hey, you know, that line's a little bit this or that or whatever. And like, for me, I'm like okay with it, but I'm like, man, but he's like the master, so I need to listen to him. But at the same time, when I go home, I'm like, I like my little mistakes, man.
Yeah.
Like, I like that little like splash there, or like that little drop, or you know what I mean. And but from an academic or a professional stance, I understand what he's telling me. But I love like, whoops, what is that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was me in my garage, and I sneezed when I took a drink of my beer. And that's now on the paper, you know.
Yeah, you said that in the academic standpoint, though. I think that's kind of the point where it could kind of like suck.
Yeah.
Because those people, like, I mean, academically at least, I know like teachers and everything will tell you that's not how it's supposed to go. That's not how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
But to you, you're like, but I like it. Like that's kind of what stood out to me.
There's something for me, like whenever I see people's prints, I want to buy the misprints.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, damn, I zoned out on Andy Warhol. They were never perfect prints.
Yeah.
And that was the best part because they were like a little off. All the Marilyn Monroes had like a little line that you see is like, he fucked up their screen.
I like that there's supposed to be like this perfect border that goes around the outside. But
I
like one that's like a little bit off because I'm like, yeah, dude, there you are. You're human. You know what I mean? Like,
I was gonna say, do you do it just to mess with people? So it's the print itself is crooked, but the border is straight. So when they're trying to line up, they're like, "Fuck."
Maybe that's what I'm just gonna start doing is like doing crooked prints and telling people that they're.
Yeah,
that's how it was intended to be.
And they're gonna be at home like, "Fuck, that doesn't look
you're
right."
I'm gonna accidentally like cut a corner off of the print, and people are gonna be like, "What the fuck is that?" And I'm gonna be like, "Oh, that's just his signature thing. He cuts off corners of prints."
And then he makes another print out of all those corners.
Just to fucking mess with you.
And then you make a print out of all those corners. You like tape them together.
There
make
you go.
Print. It's like, fuck you, dude. That's the whole point.
That's how it happens. Next thing you know, you're selling corners for $1,000.
Right. Yeah, it's like, I always think like, because I have a growler and it's like, oh, you want me to switch it? It has like a scratch. Like the letters are off a little bit. It's like, no, I fucking love that.
Yeah.
Like I even pointed out because I got a refill. I'm not going to say where or anything. But I was just like, they asked me like, hey, we want to replace your growler because it's a misprint. It's like, no, that's why I like it.
And by the way, I want to say that like in no way am I like making fun of like perfectionists or anything like that, dude. I respect those people so much because I'm like, man, maybe by default that's why I like my mistakes because I'm like, I'm just not as perfect as you are, you know. And I'm okay with that.
Which it's like in my which in my case it's fine because I'm a graphic designer and that's my specialty. And you aim for perfection. Yeah. But then when I'm doing like my paintings and everything, like all that forgets. Man. I'm really like when I do photography, I am picky. I don't edit my pictures. I like that raw imagery. But when I see a fucking dead pixel on my prints, it's like pisses me off.
Man, I'm in that graphic design class right now. Oh shoot, that stuff is.
I miss that class.
that stuff is over the top.
When you're
if you're a guy that just wants to create with his hands and you want nothing to do with technology,
You're using computers.
Oh,
like,
no,
man,
but have they give you
massive heart attacks.
Have they give you the tangram yet? Which is the perfect square made out of the 7 different pieces.
I haven't had anything like that, and I'll tell you this: I had to use the pen tool the other day to trace. What is it? The KFC guy's face, and I'm like, dude.
Colonel Sanders?
Yeah, Colonel Sanders, and I'm like,
so when you're doing the pen tool is an illustrator.
I'm like, oh
and
man,
I love the pen tool.
I have no clue what I'm doing here.
When I was teaching that was my best thing to like. Kids hated me when I was teaching the early college because I'm fucking 5 feet apart from the screen. It's like, oh, your line, you did an extra dot.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you know, mister? It's like, because I can fucking see it. Like,
Yeah.
I've been doing this for years, asshole. Like, I got teachers like calling me out for just like putting an extra dot where it doesn't go with my pen tool.
So you taught early college?
I taught early college and college.
Where at?
Cotton Valley
Okay.
and Favens. I taught at UTEP for a summer and NMSU.
Oh, that's awesome. Because I'm going into teaching.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I see that he has tattoos. I'm like, great, dude. I have tattoos too. I'm like, is it like a thing where like
nowadays I don't think when I started
No.
teaching, they made me wear. It was before us. Like just think it was when the first period of Obama. Like that's how I like the closest thing I can like.
say, like nowadays
but-
tattoos isn't a big thing even with
But
teachers.
I
I
had
don't
to
know.
take out my piercings because I have the snake bites. I had to put clear ones. I had to wear a long sleeve at first. When I was teaching the early college,
Yeah.
like high schools are gonna be depending on the district. It's up and down, dude. Like districts are gonna be your
I was
friends
just
are
curious how
hateful.
that was gonna work.
It's
You know,
up
like,
and down, dude. When I started
Well-
teaching, like I actually one of my first college classes was EPCC that I taught, and I was like, I was more of a substitute at that class,
Yeah.
and I showed up with a red shirt, like I was like covering my tattoos because I was working
Yeah.
in the early college for them for EPCC, but the early
Right.
the high school was like, no, you can't show any of that.
What if I just use those tattoos as like, I'm like, hey, kids, don't do like I did. Don't get
Yeah,
tattoos.
if I can get it.
No.
They're like my tattoos are my friend's
for me.
artwork.
right. I know.
My tattoos are my friend's artwork, so
No,
it's
I
just
know.
like. But when I was teaching UTEP and NMSU, it was like I was wearing a fucking tank top.
Yeah.
I was like, they didn't fucking care. Like I have my chest tattoo. I
Yeah,
have
but it's also college. They don't really care.
yeah, like in college is great.
Yeah.
Once you do like
it's high schools and stuff.
the
like
high
that.
schools, like it all depends on the district.
Did you know that UTEP doesn't have like a master's program for like, so if I want to be a professor,
Yeah, they don't.
that's not happening here. It's not happening here,
You
man.
have to get it at NMSU.
So you have to go drive all the way over there. I'm like, bro, I cannot afford that.
That's how it goes.
Because not a rich state.
But I also got to say that I really do want to teach like high school kids. And it's funny because when you go to these classes at UTEP, when they ask everybody, like, what do you want to teach? Oh, I want to teach high school. And I'm curious why they want to teach high school. I want to teach high school because I feel like those were the years where I was like, hey, I needed some guidance for one. You know what I mean? When I look back on it, I'm like, man, my art teacher was cool, but I could have probably used like a little bit more
A real
advice.
mentor.
He was
not
a great,
a real mentor, but
he
like
was a great
someone
guy.
that's
Yeah,
gonna,
like somebody
point
like,
you out.
dude, I needed somebody like me that's already like kind of been through the ringer. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, I can tell you like what good life looks like and what bad life looks like.
I
You
think
know what
with that, it just seems like they just got out of school and they're like, I'm going straight to teaching.
Yeah,
And there's like, dude,
And
like you gotta eat shit.
and
first.
I see that with kids too, and it's so funny, man. Like, and then they ask you all these questions like, hey, what kind of school do you want to teach in? And I'll be like, you know what, man, give me the worst school you can give me, and I will bring
I'm
it.
gonna tell you on that one. I'm gonna tell you on that one.
Shit.
Go to Teach on Pavements.
Yeah,
The reason is like my first semester I teach there.
You got
Like
stabbed.
no, I was in middle school.
Oh.
But they take me out of the classroom and there's like the principal's like, hey, like an officer's gonna come and pick this kid up.
yeah,
Yeah. The day before he stabbed someone with scissors.
yeah.
I was like, and you want me to act like nothing's happening, like as a cop takes him away?
That's crazy.
But I'm just like, I was like, I grew up in Juarez, and I was like, it's kind of cool. Like it's kind of funny
Yeah,
for me.
I don't know. There's this thing where it's like, man, if you haven't lived life and you've just like had everything like kind of like picture perfect,
Yeah.
then those things are probably gonna bother you.
Yeah. No, to
Sorry,
me, like,
dude. I lived in Baghdad for 15 months.
Yeah, you have
So,
a better like.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like, but
there's
it's just
not
like,
much that's gonna phase me.
in my head, it was like, why did they pick my class? Two, one.
Mhm.
Second of all, it's like, you just want me to act all cool. I was gonna make fun of the kid. I was like, pendejo is getting over.
No,
if
but
you're gonna stop someone stomping outside of school.
But I think like so when we talk about like Fabens, right?
Yeah.
I've never lived in Fabens, so I can't speak. I
It's
can't
not
speak
a bad
for it.
place. It's just it's like like how can I explain? It's you're driving on the Segundo Barrio part of Alameda.
I know where it's at. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, but that's how it feels. Like you're just you're just driving a block away.
Yeah,
But it's just weird. Like when I started teaching there, the only two places you can go eat, it was churches and McDonald's.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
I was teaching there, and like 6 months later, they opened the Little Caesars,
Yeah.
and they made it a big deal. I'm just like, at least I don't have to eat the fucking cafeteria food.
Yeah. When we talk about those kids though, I'm like, hey man, you know what? Like, and we were talking about the guy that was my teacher. He was a great dude, but I really wished he would have been like, hey man, if you really push it, you can make a living in art. And I feel like that didn't happen for me. So then that's why I defaulted to the military. And
I want to say a lot of it has to do with the kind of teacher that you get too, because I mean, I think a lot of those teachers do it just to earn a paycheck.
Yeah.
And it's just a way for them to do what they kind of love to do with earning a
you're
paycheck.
absolutely right.
And a lot of times they don't really stop to think like, all right, this kid has talent, fine, but I need to have a real conversation with them to let them know, look,
Yeah.
do you really want to do this? This is kind of what you need to do.
Yeah.
Don't do this, or there's no real like. I don't feel like
go-
there's ever any effort in building a relationship to actually go beyond their high school years than it is just to get them through high school.
Yeah.
And they don't go over their paycheck. It's just like, dude, spend the fucking time, learn about your kid.
And here's what I tell all these folks that I end up getting into their shops or these places or shows. Like, to be honest with you, like I don't care for like, what is it, fame or anything like that. I literally am going to take all these experiences I've had within the past 4 years. I'm going to throw it on a computer, and when I go and I teach, I'm going to be like, look, this is what I was able to accomplish as an old man artist. You know what I mean? Like within this many years. And these are the trials and errors that I did, and this and that, and you know what I mean? Like, here's what I did to just make those kinds of things happen. And maybe there's more that you can do. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I think that you have to be super passionate about what you do, art, or creativity, or whatever it is that you're trying to teach to somebody else. You have to be passionate about it enough to share your experiences, and then like push it in and push it to them and say, hey, if you need help, you let me know. I'm going to send you to the guy who can make you a business card, or I'm going to send you to the person that can make you a print. Or
I think that's the best part. Like now, like I guess with us, is that we just recommend people.
Yeah.
And it's for me, it took me years. Like honestly, like for me to get stickers and all my, like, I need someone to print my shit, like after I stopped teaching, because I don't have this equipment available.
Yeah.
So it's like back then I was just like printing my own shit, like fuck yeah, I can print all this shit.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But then I'm just like, when I did it, my mom was like, oh fuck, like I don't know. Like and I started like going back to shows and like going out with people, like meeting people again.
Yeah.
Having drinks with them. It was like, hey, I print this, I can do this for you. Like dude, if you need a logo, I got you and all that shit. And it's just a thing. And then honestly, like for me, when I was teaching, this is the one thing I'm gonna tell you, is like you're gonna have a lesson plan, right?
Oh, I know, you have the guidelines you have to go by.
No, but like for your like class, like this month I'm gonna teach this kind of like, I'm gonna teach a Bauhaus, I'm gonna teach a whatever, Gothic art, architecture and all that. But you have that lesson plan, and honestly, when I was teaching the early college, I had 23 students. So my lesson plan became 23 different lesson plans. Out of those 23 became like at least 2,000 different lesson plans. Because I was thanks to my mentor, Oscar, I'm going to throw his name out there. Oscar is a good mentor to me. We were teaching together. He taught me all my graphic stuff. And I had to like never get the kid the better of me. Like I didn't want him to like, oh, I don't know, like ask me a question I didn't know. At the time I was fucking 19, 20 when I was teaching there. And I had to like spend the whole night. It's like, this kid's gonna come with this question. Yeah. And I have an answer. And then this answer is gonna give him this question.
Oh yeah.
So I spent like honestly like at least 100 questions on each kid. So it became like 1,000 like fucking lesson plans for one fucking kid.
I love that you mentioned that too, because like,
a lot of teachers stop. It was like, oh, I don't know.
No.
And I hated seeing that, like, not saying like, because I grew up in like going to school in Juarez all the way to high school. And I was just like, they told me a lot. I was like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
Well, I
no.
gotta figure it's like you don't want to be that person.
So I do this thing where like once a month, if I have the funds, I go to a bookstore or whatever and I buy one art book and I'm building like my own art library. And it's not necessarily about just drawing or painting or whatever. I will reach out and buy a book that has to be like tagging or, you know what I mean? Or whatever. So that way I have this like plethora of knowledge where I'm like, I can walk in there and that kid's like, hey, how do I do this? And I'm like, you know what? I don't know much about tagging, but you know, here's my friend who does do tagging. Yeah. You know what I mean? And also here's a book. You
bring him into the fucking place.
And what I want you to do is read up on it and do your research. And then you figure out how to do it. You know, like, man, I have so many friends that use spray paint. I don't know how to use spray paint. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, and they are killing it. Like, it looks beautiful. You know,
you're mean you're not supposed to inhale this?
Yeah, right. Like,
so I actually took an apprenticeship in tattooing just because I wanted to learn how to break shit up.
Yeah.
And it was like I was never good at first doing like portraits. Yeah. And that's one of my specialties now. It's just because I asked the guy that tattooed me. He's like, hey, look, like I'm not gonna fucking clean anything here. I'm not gonna be cleaning the tattoo shop. I'm not gonna be anybody's bitch. Yeah. Just teach me how the fucking you're breaking everything apart. Right. Like I already know how to break it graphically. Like we all see shapes in the graphic designer. That's your basis everything out of shapes. You teach them how to draw a hand just using shapes. It's like that's what we do. And it's just like I want to fucking draw a face. Yeah. But people are like, oh well, you have to do this. It's like no, I want to draw like a fucking tattoo artist. Yeah. That knows how to do portraits. My friend, luckily Andy, knew how to do it. It's like, dude, like I thought like I want to do shit. It's like, you know what, dude? At the time he's sober now, and just smokes a lot of pot now. I don't know how he switched from that to that, but he just like we sat down like when we get my tattoos we sit down and draw first, and then it's like okay, like we actually draw for an hour. It's like we should better get your tattoo get done. It's like start your tattoo. Like
you got to do the exercises, man.
Yeah, and we're just like that's how we did it. And that's how like I learned how to fucking like draw faces just by tattooing. Like I took apprenticeships that didn't have to do anything with me. Right. Like I went and like asked people, I was like, hey, how do you fucking do this? Same thing with photography. I learned photography from a fucking a photographer that does news. He's a news photographer, but I know how to manage a camera without using automatic. And it sucks because I see kids nowadays is like, oh, I have a nice fucking $1,300 camera. Yeah. And I use it on auto. I was like, so you don't know how to fucking change your times on the lens? Like, do you know how to do aperture? You know how to fucking like change your shutter speed? It's like, no, it's automatic. It's like, so you have a fucking $1,300 camera body plus a $800 fucking lens, and you just use it in auto. Yeah. It's like, dude, like learn something. Like not to be a dick, like just learn how to use like your craft, but to be a dick,
but to be a little bit of a dick.
You know, like to be the big dick in the.
Hey, I gotta say, like with the train just going on in the background, for some people that might seem annoying, but is like super therapeutic to me. and I gotta explain that like growing up in Ohio, we had this like crap house, like, and hopefully, I mean, I don't think my mom will ever hear this. But like
she calls you next week like, what the
but we just didn't have a lot of money growing up, you know what I mean? Like, and we had this house that was like right next to the railroad tracks. And, you know, God bless her, man. She worked 2 jobs and all that. You know, anyways. Yeah. But the train would just always be going off like throughout the night. And it's funny because it doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? I love that sound, you know, and
it took me a while.
Yeah.
I live close by, so it's just like,
yeah, I don't know.
I'm a light sleeper, so I'm just like, it took me like a month. It was like, okay, now I can sleep through the train.
I love it, man. You know, what's funny is like last night we took the kids out in the backyard and we put up a tent and we were watching like movies on the projector, Halloween movies, and you know, and my wife and the kids and I, we all slept in this tent last night. And it was funny, like throughout the night, my wife was like, man, I slept like crap. And I was like, why did you sleep like crap? And she goes, dude, the dogs were barking and there was a car that was going by. And I'm like, dude, I slept so good. Like, I don't know, like we watched the Halloween deal.
So real quick, kind of off camera we were. I don't know why I said it like Yoda.
Off camera we were.
Off the camera we were.
We get it, like October 30th and Mandalorian's coming out again.
So, what?
October 30th.
Mandalorian, yeah.
I think he got fired too. Well, he quit.
Who got fired?
The guy who
the Mandalorian? Yeah. He quit.
He quit.
Sorry. Anyways, no. Amber Holt, right? That's what you go
Emberflow.
Emberflow. Your last name's Holt. Damn it, my bad.
It's okay, dude.
I know. Brian here, Emberflow, gave us these right here, which I didn't know was a fucking Buckeye. Brian, if you don't mind, maybe kind of explaining what the Buckeye is, and kind of like why what it means.
Yeah,
because we both got one.
We both got one, which I think are really cool.
Yeah, no. So I brought them along because in Ohio, the Buckeye is not just a football team. The Buckeye is something that we pass around in Ohio as kind of like a good luck charm. So when I came here to El Paso, I was like, man, I really want to bring something from Ohio that, you know, represents where I come from, but also like a blending of like cultures, you know. And I had made this like hand sculpture with a Buckeye in it. And before the Buckeye falls out of the tree, it's in this like spiny, you know, spiky looking like coating. And then when it falls out of the tree, it splits open and then that falls out. But it, you know, it looks abrasive. It looks sharp. It looks like, you know, like aggressive, you know, and oftentimes like, that's kind of how I feel like maybe people can perceive, you know, because I'm a veteran or because, you know, because I'm white, you know, that maybe I'm a certain way. Right. And that's okay. But it's like my offering to people to say like, hey, even though, I mean, look, I know it's as simple as like a nut, right? But it's an offering to just kind of like open hands and say, hey, look.
Grab my nuts.
Yeah, grab my nuts.
If it were only that easy.
I know.
I wish.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to. Sorry.
Yeah, you did. Of course you did.
It's okay. But no, I wanted it to be like this offering where like people would see like, oh, this is something I don't know what it is, and you know what I mean, and this is what it represents to him. One of my professors talked about it as like a talisman of some sort, or you know. So I thought, you know, that's really great to like share different cultures, different, you know, backgrounds, you know, and that's all I'm really doing is like opening the hand and saying, hey, you know, like shake my hand and get to know me, you know. Like
it's one of the things like we said earlier, like just putting your hand out. Like one of the things when I used to teach and all that, is like I always want people to draw their hands. Yeah. Because it's the one thing you see every day.
Yeah.
But also like what's the one thing you want to give people? Like you're gonna shake someone's hand, which is and I grew up old school, I guess, because my great grandfather, but a handshake means a lot. Like
absolutely,
I'm not gonna lie. Like when I started doing like freelancing, I step away from a job because a guy, like, Cesar, put your hand up. So he's like, no, like you're gonna give my handshake.
I was like, hi.
And the guy just grabbed my hand like this, and I quit the job. It's like, why would you do this?
Because your fingers were loose?
He's straight up, like instead of going like this, he just did this.
He gave you noodle hand?
Yeah, and it was like, well, you're talking we're talking business.
Did you maybe just not go far enough?
I went the whole,
and it was just that awkward thing where like you were just out there for a while and you didn't know what to do at that point, so you're like, fuck it, let's just get it done with and we'll be done.
We actually, like, before we met, like we actually like shook hands like properly. So like at the end when we like finish our meeting, like I went like that and he just grabs my fingers. It's like, I don't feel like you were talking serious.
Have you ever had anybody just like completely try to crush your hand?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
my wife says that.
I do that a lot too.
My wife says it in El Paso. That's like somebody who has small balls because they're like trying to like show you like how machismo they are. You know, like, oh yeah, I'm so big, and I'm like, dude, I don't need all that. Like, and I've had that too. I'm like, dude, just give like a solid handshake.
It's because everybody here is not taller than 5'8", so fortunately that's what it comes down to.
That's why you're lucky you're 6 feet.
Well, I certainly won't give you noodle hand. You know, actually, it's really funny. My buddy from Ohio came out to visit, and before he was getting ready to get on the plane, you know what? I've been here in El Paso long enough to where like I just do the.
That one, yeah.
And you know, I fucking went for that, and it got real fucking awkward because he was like. Shit, what's going
next?
on? What's the fucking secret handshake of El Paso? And I'm like, sorry, dude. Like, it's just what we do.
I think,
I think
always been it.
It's always been El Paso.
It's never been anything but that. Just a quick,
like a quick, like, funny give like, me some daps and a bump, and we're
that's
cool.
It.
It's in El Paso because it's in El Paso and like Juarez thing. Like, you go outside from like Juarez in Mexico, they don't do that. But in Juarez and in El Paso, we all fucking do this shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like cool, like dude, like
that's
if you guys are listening, like you have to watch this part.
That's the known hello greeting here.
it's like you have like a high-five handshake and
Yeah.
then fist bump.
I think they should have like a card at the airport for people when they come in that says, "Hey, just so you know, people are just gonna give you like a quick little like dap and a bump, and
And
it's
then
okay."
you're gonna shotgun a beer. What?
Yeah,
Still Texas, so we shotgun a beer.
there you go.
Shout out to
God.
William again with his 3-second shot.
Obviously, with the 3 second.
Oh, shout out that
Oh,
guy's
man.
a beautiful motherfucker. That motherfucker can shotgun a beer in less than 3 seconds.
Okay,
3 to less or 3 seconds.
you know, it's been a while, but man, I used to have like a 2-second shotgun.
I kind
I
of want.
know.
Whoa. First when I see William out Cesar with a fastball.
What? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Our friend
We're
William.
gonna have to prove it.
Last time, yeah, we got into the conversation that I guess William is an outstanding pitcher
Shout out to William.
from the story he told us. So we kind of were like, all right, well, I want to see if you can strike me out then. So we're gonna one of these days we're gonna see if he can throw his fastball at me and
Which
see
is
if I
also
can
like
hit off him.
it's also a preview to our next show that we're gonna do. Separate from this, we're
No,
gonna
that's
do
cool,
a
man.
baseball show.
Yeah.
With Cesar, William, and I, because I like baseball. Grew up a Yankees fan. Watching it, don't know a lot of it. First time I went to a batting catch was with Cesar, like last year.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
That's pretty
Pre-COVID.
That's alright. I tried.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID year.
That's how I
So
know
like
times.
I want to, because apparently William knows a lot of, like, he's a history major, knows a lot about like history and all that, and he's a big
Big baseball fan.
So we're gonna see that. We're gonna talk about baseball. If you like baseball, you're more than welcome to join us.
Yeah,
Talk shit
baseball.
about any team. Maybe we'll have a fucking hockey one. Shout out to Penguins.
El Paso Rhinos.
Paso Rhinos are freaking.
Maybe we should talk to the Rhinos. Let's go do an episode from the Rhinos.
Yeah, but fuck you,
from the
Pickles.
Coliseum. Yeah, fuck Pickles.
And Scotiaban's.
I'm just kidding,
You're
Pickles.
a badass front.
You were a nice guy, but you sucked as a
You
goalie.
sucks a goalie, dude. You ever met Pickles? Have you like seen that season like 2 years
Nah.
ago?
No.
That motherfucker was letting easy goals going in. I
Yeah.
was like, dude, like, why are you even a goalie?
No. And hey, and that's what I was telling you guys about earlier is that, you know, man, I found out that El Paso had a
Badass hockey team.
badass hockey team, a hockey team, and I'm like, dude, I used to play hockey, and you know, a couple of months ago they were, you know, asking for artists to come out and do some artwork for their youth hockey league, and I was like, you know what, man, yeah, I did a couple of paintings for them, and you know, they don't know me, I don't know them, but I'm like, man, that is awesome, you know, like to give to your community. And you know, I talked to a friend of mine about this, like, dude, I live in this town. I'm an El Pasoan, you know,
Yeah.
and
I
it's
think
so great to like,
after 2 years you're becoming a passer.
yeah, but I think it's great to also like give back to your community. And you know, one of my friends and I, we were talking about it, and it was like, hey, we live here, like, dude, you got to support the Chihuahuas. You got to you got to support the all the sports teams, and
We have
dude,
a
this
good
city is so awesome, and we're so fortunate to have like all these things here. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people take it
Well,
for
Yeah,
granted.
take it for granted, especially
They'll support
because
as long as they're winning, because
yeah,
Lord knows
No.
the Miners hasn't had a good stadium
Yeah,
crowd.
but
Let me
so
tell you
long.
something, dude. I support all of them. Minor, dude. I'm
like, I didn't go to UTEP. That's like, everybody knows that I went to UT. In this, because I always talk about UT. But like, I'll go to the games. Only one. I'm not a football fan. I don't know how like, if someone
He's there
personally
like,
know me.
oh sweet, they just hit a home run. I'm like, dude, wrong sport. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, I'm a hockey fan and a baseball fan. That's all I know. But I will fucking go to a Chihuahuas game
Yeah.
any fucking time.
No, you gotta support
Chihuahuas
all,
are great.
all of that, man.
Shout out to Ray, one of my sisters. Love that girl. She's a soccer fan, and so the first time I went to I went to a Locomotive game. It was her
Yeah.
birthday. It was a great time. Like,
that was the first time you've been to a soccer game?
not in El Paso. I used to work at
Wow.
the Indios in Juarez
Okay, gotcha.
back in the day, but it was the first time I actually enjoyed it. Like, I would go with friends, but it wasn't the same. Like, going with my sister and now my friends now, like
Yeah.
Cesar, Tony, White
Yeah.
Chocolate, sorry. I want to bleep his name though. White Chocolate, Rachel, Kristen. It was amazing. We
Yeah.
had good beers and just talking shit.
Hey.
And they were like, "What are you screaming?" It's like, "Te la metieron."
Yeah.
Like,
Have you ever
what?
heard anybody say in El Paso, like, dude, there's nothing to do here? I'm like,
All the
what
time.
are you,
All the time.
what,
especially
are,
him.
what are you talking
He
about?
hears that.
I
Like,
never said that.
You hear it all the time.
Oh, I
That's
hear it
what
all the
meant.
time.
yeah, no, like, dude, there's so much to do here. Like, hey, have
like-
you been down to the museums?
So-
Just
Have-
hang out downtown for
Yeah.
5 fucking
So
minutes.
that's one of the reasons we actually wanted to start doing this.
Yeah.
both of us, I think more him, he was already known kind of like in the scene here, and I kind of like became introduced to it through him. But in the job that I work and the work that I have, that's one of the things I always hear people say, that there is never anything going on, nothing to do here.
Yeah.
And then, like, through the people that I've met and the bands and the artists that I've met, I'm like, y'all are freaking idiots, man. There's always something going on here.
Like, dude, have you been to the Franklin Mountains?
Yes.
Like, just go on a walk. Like, I don't know, just
go on a bike ride. Even, like, go hiking.
That's my bad.
Fucking jarritos.
My bong.
You would have break it. Pinche marihuana.
It's my jarritos bottle.
No, but I think, like, yeah, you're right. Like, just go on a fucking walk, and someone's gonna mention, it's like, hey, you know what's happening next door? Like, right now, we're at Old SheepDOg. Across the street right now, it's Galleria Lincoln.
But see, I think this comes down to what we were talking about earlier. This city is very caught up in the mainstream the mainstream
outside
culture.
the recording, we're talking about this.
Outside the recording, we're talking about this. That, like, you know, a lot of times we don't get too many bands around here, so people think, oh, there's no shows here. Like, dude, there's always shows here.
Yeah.
Like, it might not be like your top 40 artists, but there's always some kind of band. There's always some kind of artist. Somebody's
here. Good music here.
Yeah, there's so much good music.
We always say there's, like, our good friend Mikey. He plays in a rock and roll mariachi band.
Yeah.
It's like, when have you heard that? Have you ever, like,
there's a lot of interesting. There's a lot of
you guys had Tribes on.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm like, dude.
And then he came playing with the Mariachi El Bronx. Like, if you grew up in the punk scene, you knew Mariachi El Bronx.
Yeah.
It's like they were in Warped Tour.
That's why
I saw them on Warped Tour. I didn't know Mikey at the time, but then I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, I love these guys.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of things that people don't realize. There's a lot of, like, what you guys are saying. There's a lot of artists, a lot of creativity here, and in all aspects of, you know, the creative world, there's a lot of stuff going on here. And it's not even just that. It's like you're saying. There's a lot of things that you could be doing here that doesn't involve being creative. You could, like, relax. A lot of people don't know about that. A lot of people don't know about going hiking, all the trails that we have. That's something I just started really seeing. I didn't realize how many trails we have. I was like, there's a lot of trails here.
Man.
Like, there's a lot of stuff to do here. It's just a matter of
going out
and looking for it and getting off TikTok and doing it.
And getting out of your house. Yeah, right. Moving your legs and moving your limbs.
You know what you can do is, like, turn off the fucking TV and just walk outside, dude.
Yep.
Go buy a beer, not a 7-Eleven, not a Specs. Go buy a beer at a local spot. Not even a, like, I know we're sponsored by Old SheepDOg, but just go to a fucking local, like, shop and buy a beer, and they're gonna give you craft beer from a local place.
Yeah.
Because we have so many breweries in town, and a lot of people don't know.
Restaurants.
It's like good, amazing restaurants.
Everything.
Fucking coffee shops. You're like, dude, like, I wanna fucking hang out here. I think this
town or the city just has so much, like, man, everything. You know, and that's what I really love about it. I know earlier I said, you know, oh yeah, you know, housing's really cheap here, but it's not just that, man. Like, I don't know, and I think people don't. I think people take for granted, like, dude, the weather.
Oh,
you know, the weather
I'll be honest. There's moments where I'm like, fuck.
Minus maybe the spring, like when all the dirt's like flying, and then you see like
when it's like super hot.
Minus April when it's windy every single day.
Yeah, and like all of your shit is just flying around in the backyard, and you're like, holy fuck.
I haven't cleaned my fucking. You said I have to clean my
August, where they're like, oh my god, it's 110 degrees outside.
My balls.
I don't know. I guess that stuff doesn't bother me because of my deployments, maybe. Because I'm like,
maybe.
That's
I'm
the
like,
other thing. Like, a lot of people,
man.
like, we have a big military, like, community here, but not all of them are dicks. Like, I'm not saying, like, come on, like, you're a fucking badass motherfucker. Like, we met you, and, like, dude.
Well,
like,
I guess on that,
it's just great.
So I know, like, we've mentioned it. You were obviously in the army.
Hey guys, we just want to go ahead and say thank you to everybody who's listened to this episode of the 6 Feet Under podcast. We actually ended up with a lot more content that we had anticipated for this episode. So we're going to go ahead and split that up into 2 episodes. Be sure to be on the lookout for the second part of this episode featuring our good friend Emberflow. So once again, thank you all for listening. As always, we want to go ahead and recognize our sponsors, Old SheepDOg Brewery, located at 3900 Rosa Avenue, El Paso, Texas, 79905, and Vitolas Cigar and Whiskey, located at 216 West Franklin Avenue, El Paso, Texas, 79901. Please, guys, make sure you guys go ahead and check them out. They're really great spots locally here in El Paso, Texas, as well as support all your other local restaurants, bars, artists, musicians, and everybody else. Remember, we're always about supporting local. Also, please be sure to check us out at 6feetunderstudios.com, where you can find links to where you can listen to all of our content as well as watch our videos. You can find links to our YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our Instagram. Please be sure to check us out, guys. We really appreciate all the help. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and please share our site and our podcast with your friends. Also, please be sure to check out our music that we'll be uploading to our website, as well as any art and everything else that we put out for you guys in the future. That's all again for this episode of 6 Feet Under Podcast. Thank you guys very much, and we'll see you guys next time.